Hey, this is Robert of Mayflower Bookshop. Another question and answer.
Is astrology a science or is it psychic?
Oh, that's a good question. That question's asked a lot. Is astrology a science or is it psychic? Well, I think, astrology works the best in pathology and kind of when people are really stuck in patterns of obsession and jealousy and attachment and negative behavior, negative emotions. You can predict that kind of easy with astrology. And there's a lot of research done on that. I think the astrology is a science in the sense of erecting the chart. Astrology is the science of possibility and tendency and probability, and it's a science art. The science is in erecting the chart at the exact month, day, year, time, and place, and where are those planets and what relationships. The art of astrology is in interpreting it. And there's a spiritual aspect to astrology where you just approach the astrology chart to see what you're doing here spiritually, what the meaning of life is, and what you're here to learn from previous lifetimes, perhaps, or from your parents' generic DNA, the conditioning factors. But also astrology reveals the nuts and seeds and kernel of the possibilities, the infinite possibility of unfoldment. Because, the major planets are basically, the major planets on a spiritual level, we could say they're lords of karma perhaps, but we could also say that they're the Mahayana Prajna Paramitas that you read about in The Voice of the Silence by H.P. Blavatsky, or that you read about with guys like Gaelic Rinpoche or the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan Lamas. The Mahayana Prajna Paramitas are the 7 major virtues, that each planet has a major virtue. Saturn being meditation or contemplation, Sat is the eternal. Saturn is the urn or the space for the eternal perceptions. And, you can see Venus as generosity and courage and enthusiasm as Mars. All the planets represent virtues. And in that light, of the 3 principal path, the great training of the Tibetan Buddhists of 3 principal path, you can see Uranus as the determination to be free, Neptune, the Bodhi mind or the bodhicitta of compassion for all who live and loving kindness, and Pluto as being the highest yoga tantra, Vajrayana, the ideal of the alchemy, Pluto is alchemy. So instead of the double or the shadow or the doppelganger or, seeing a therapist forever, which isn't bad if you're into it, but Pluto can be the death and transfiguration, transmutation, and resurrection, the alchemy of turning difficult negative emotions into positive things. So that's a whole other way of looking at it, which I think one of my early spiritual and astrology teachers, Dane Ruger, came very close to that. I know that we talked a lot about Tibetan Buddhists, and Charles Jain, I was able to turn him on to Gaelic Rinpoche and other Tibetan Lamas. A lot of the great astrologers were into Theosophy or Steiner or Tibetan Buddhism. These are great ways of that. You don't like somebody told me once. I think a Tibetan Lama told me, I'm not trying to make you into a Buddhist. I'm just trying to help you get enlightened. So, as an all-American astrologer, Robert of Mayflower, I'm just sharing knowledge that might help you on your road. You can stay a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu or a Jain or, whatever you're doing. You can stay there, but I like to be the religion of the Holy Heart, Sacred Heart, Virtue Heart, and the Holy Backyard, So I think that's enough for that one. I hope that answered, the question. It may not have, but I'll have to come back. We're all going to reincarnate. Bless your heart.